Pastor Troy. We're on the dock here. We're having a great time. Come join us on the dock.org. On the dock.org, renew releases every Tuesday and Thursday. Dr. Hena, do you know that song that we played? Our theme song is the old music to Sitting on the Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding. You ever heard that song? That's the gold album up on the wall. It is my favorite secular song. 2 minutes and 38 seconds long. It was written by him. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Mr. Otis Redding, he was in studio. He recorded the song very short because he recorded the first verse. And when he got to the second verse, he whistled the second verse. He whistled the whole second verse. And then when they got done, the producer said, "What's up?" And he said, "We got a gig in Detroit." They had to go up to Michigan, Detroit, somewhere up there. And they had to get on a plane. He said, "I hadn't written the second verse." So he just whistled it. And he said, "When we get back from the gig, we'll write the second verse." And so what happened was they died in an airplane crash. Didn't make it back. And what we were left with was the studio version, 2 minutes, 38 seconds long with the whistled verse of the second verse. So I love the song. It's one of my favorite songs. You know, I'm a Memphis boy. Georgia docks are great, but I always think of the Memphis docks of the Mississippi and stuff. So when I think about this song, it gives me great joy because one of the first things I'm going to ask God when I get into heaven is, can I hear verse 2 from Otis? I want to know it. So I just wanted to tell you where we got the song from. Hey, On the Dock's all about conversations to propel your faith out of the shallows and into the deep. We're glad you're joining us. We're available. On the Dock is available at YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Facebook, Roku, Rumble, and SermonNet. Download that SermonNet app. It's a great app. If you're on Roku TV, you have to actually download the SermonNet app there and look up On the Dock with Pastor Troy. You can find us also on social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, and Getter. I think Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, Twitter, and Getter. I got 5 now. I got to get all those down in my mind better. And when you find us, would you please hit subscribe, share with the other friends, hit like, notify, give us some comments. We love to talk with you. We'd love to have you as our Patreon partner or sponsor. We have multi-tiers available for you to check that out. Go to our Patreon site and check out the tiers and partners program there we have for you. It's pretty cool. We'd love to have you. And then finally, if you can't find us, go to onthedock.org. We have an embedded viewer. We also have links there to all those different platforms, links to all of our social media sites, and you can always email us at info@onthedock.org. We're ready to go with a great program here. I got Mother Beth in the studio. Hi, Mother Beth.
Hi, Annie.
You were quiet in the first podcast. You got to talk more this time.
I'm quiet.
She's very quiet. She's going to talk more this time. She is a mother of the church, and we've had a church day here. We're excited, but we're glad to have you here. You look great.
I'm a good listener.
You're a good listener. And Dr. Hena is fun to listen to. So yes. We're in the studio. We got an incredible guest. We are doing an incredible series here. We're in part 2 right now of a series called Healthy Women, Healthy Liberia series with Dr. Chris Hena. Today we're going to be talking about healthy women, healthy Liberia's work with the Hands of Hope Foundation. That's our foundation that Mother Beth and I founded here in USA. We do medical, surgical, crusade teams, but mostly when we work with Dr. Hena, we're doing med surge teams. So we've worked with her for years now, years, seeing her work just grow and blossom. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in this episode, and we're going to go from there. It's going to be good. So Dr. Hena, Dr. Chris Hena, welcome again to On the Dock.
Thank you.
All right, Chris has been traveling. She's ready to go. I wanted to ask her a question. If you didn't get a chance to see the first episode, we really laid out the basics to Healthy Women, Healthy Liberia. We're going to get much deeper into Chris's story in our next couple episodes. You're going to not want to miss it. You're going to want to get 3 cups of coffee and sit down and just chill for a while because she's got incredibly powerful witness and testimony. We're going to get into that. But we want to talk about how we got connected in this episode so you can see why I want you to know all this incredible woman of God. But she's a medical doctor. What would be your specialty? Is it family practice? Is it
general medicine? Public health.
General medicine, public health. She is not just a doctor. She is a leader amongst leaders. She is able to speak across all lines of bureaucracy and social systems, and she's greatly respected. I've never seen anybody that could pull community together better than she does. She's definitely a community leader, and she loves Margaby County and Kakata. And I say that as a Paramount Chief of Margaby County. She is deeply loved in that county, and nobody loves the children of Margaby better than Dr. Chris Hena. I can see that. When you go to her clinic, you can just see that. And not just the people, the staff you have. How many staff people do you have in that clinic now in your team?
36 now.
36. And what a happy staff. Worship together. They eat together. They fellowship together. It is I would almost consider it, if you were a ship, like a ship going through the sea doing great things for God. It's like a ship. It's a well-oiled ship. The facility. If you go back in the first video, we showed a clip that included pictures of our modern clinic today. We've worked in there. Just incredible. The place is just wonderfully cared for. The team is tight. They have their own person cooking. They're caring for each other, and then they're able to, out of that abundance of love and joy, they're able to care for patients at an extraordinary level. I can walk through. I've walked through the best hospitals in that country. I would say best, but the biggest. Like JFK. I've walked through other places, rainy in the day, and you can see people. You can see medical providers doing good work. You can tell they love God, but you don't see the care factor of the institution maximized anywhere near what I see when I walk in your place. And I think that is, nothing could be rebuilding Liberia better than the lighthouse that you've put together at the Waterfield Primary Health Care Clinic. It's amazing. Just amazing. And that light starts with you. It does, because you've got this beautiful clinic, guys, state-of-the-art generator, state-of-the-art facility. But let me just show you this, guys. Her first clinic, when she went back from Kazakhstan, when she came back from Russia from her training, that was her first clinic. So it doesn't have to do with beautiful blocks. It has to do with a beautiful mind and a beautiful mission and a beautiful vision and a beautiful commitment to the people. And she will work with whatever she has. Trust me. If you give her 5 of something and you send it to her, she will see that 5 were received and 5 was used, and she'll let you know how five people were helped. That's what I think the trick and the magic and the godliness is to her deal, is stewardship and gift and awareness. I've never seen somebody that handles what she receives from people with such a treasure. And you do an extraordinary work of that, Dr. Hena. I've seen that over and over again. Just when we transfer drugs or when we transfer something to her, the stewardship is incredible. Her people are incredible. And I really appreciate that. And we all think that seems normal, but Dr. Hena could tell you that's a very difficult thing in Liberia, because the system there has not been organized like that for years. And so she's having to rebuild the concept of family and working together in community. And although she's a community healthcare provider, she's not just trying to go out in the community to do it. She's built community right around her, and it's like a lighthouse. So you can see her clinic's just, like I said, just absolutely amazing. When we land there, I'll come back to this in a second. Let me back up one more thing. I wanted to ask you, COVID-19. COVID hit us. We were ready to start doing our 2020 trip. We should be doing a 2021 trip. We should have done one in March. We didn't. We should be planning to do one in February 2022, March 2022. I don't think we'll be doing one yet. You did tell me a few small teams are starting to come back in, even one from the U.S. What is COVID-19? How has it impacted over the last 2 years, Liberia? Has it been devastating? How have you managed it? Just give us a little bit of an overview.
Well, COVID-19, actually, as compared to Ebola,
which you had just previously to this.
Yeah. And so Ebola, in my opinion, was more devastating than COVID-19.
Yeah, I would say so.
We lost families during Ebola, just families and families and families.
So for the record, Ebola hit their country so hard. One of the worst countries. It was Guyana a little bit, and where's the other country?
It was in Guinea.
Guinea. Just devastated Liberia, devastated. Yeah. And people need to understand, Ebola can be 80 to 90 to 95% fatal, correct? It's very high. Yeah, before some of the treatment, very high. There's 4 of us in the room here, and if Ebola were to hit this room and wasn't treated by modern medicine, we would probably lose all of us here.
All of us.
At least 3 of us would be gone. But the stats say if there were 10 of us in here, there'd be 9 gone. 8 to 9 would be gone. And you understand, devastating. And Ebola didn't discriminate. It kills children. It killed adults. It killed old people, young people, right? Pretty much everybody. COVID-19's been a little different because the death rate there is way less than 1%.
Yeah.
And it's mostly among elderly people, immunocompromised people, not amongst the children, not amongst you see some cases of it, but in general, so for Liberians, malaria would be far more devastating that you deal with every day, correct?
Absolutely.
Typhoid, much more devastating. Typhoid, much more. So, and you guys just came out of Ebola, so you're prepared to use very strong health factors to protect yourself. You're almost better off than we are in this country at dealing with a dangerous disease because you have learned how to live differently. So you saw COVID come. I'm sure it impacted people. But I guess more and less, maybe the greater impact was keeping us from coming to you. Partnerships.
Yeah, and COVID actually taught us a different lesson because during Ebola, we saw how families died. COVID, people looked at it a little differently. They were initially very terrified that something worse than Ebola had come.
They thought of it like an Ebola was coming?
Yes.
Okay.
And then after that, when the government imposed that you go to work from the morning to 3 o'clock, that changed a little because the question was, why should the virus be asleep between morning to 3, and then after 3 o'clock, everybody needs to be off the street and they need to be at home.
We did the same thing here.
That was where the confusion came from, and they said, well, if that's the case, then we'll just go out.
Right.
Because they didn't believe.
Well, let me say this to you.
Right.
The Liberians are quicker on the draw than Americans because what we did in America is we sent our kids to school and they would say, we will only bring the kids to school for half a day. So you get the kid up, you send the kid on the bus. They got to get up at 6:30. They got to get dressed. You got to fight them to get the clothes on. They're out the door at 8 o'clock, and you turn around. They're getting back on the bus at 11:30, 12 o'clock, and they're coming home. And they've been at school a whole 3 hours. What did they learn? Nothing. They said all their classes were condensed. They spent most of the time walking from class to class, and basically we were sending kids for a half a day, and they were getting not even half an education. And so it was like, okay, you got the room clean. They're there. Let them stay and learn, And we did a lot of things like that. I don't think that made sense.
It didn't, and so quickly they adjusted themselves, and in that process, I think that's where we lost some people.
Yeah,
because they
overlooked. They got rid of what they need to focus on: hand washing, covering your mouth, social distancing, things that would protect you. But once you've gone to a place and been there, like this table, if all of us had COVID, it's here. At 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, it would still be here. So once you're here, you're here. But then if you start just abandoning all reason, then like you said, you can be susceptible. So you think bad leadership and coaching on what to do kind of caused people to be skeptical?
I think the messaging
was bad. Yeah, I agree.
Very bad.
And I think people here, let me be honest with you, I think people here, Ebola in Liberia had a mental impact still on us here. And so when people saw COVID-19 coming, I think people here expected COVID-19. So people in our church, our community would be terrified, like, man, this is horrible. And I'd look at them and go, guys, this is nothing like Ebola. And we would all be in this room. We said we would all be dead, if we got it. COVID hits this room. I mean, everybody in this room is pretty healthy. I mean, we might have little issues. Most of us could fight it off easy. I got pretty sick with it, Chris. I got COVID. I had a hard time breathing for a couple of weeks, but I fought it off, I got through it, and I didn't get to the hospital level. And we did lose people, no question, but we lose people to the flu. We lose people to other things every year. And we all thought it was Ebola, but it ended up not being Ebola. And we really, really hurt a lot of things doing it. I'm not saying an overreaction, but I think we closed and stopped the wrong things. And then as a result, it shut off the flow of supplies to through NGOs and organizations to countries like yours. Mm-hmm. So how much did things cut off, like rice from China or products from India or products from the United States, or just groups like ours coming? What did you see in the impact of NGOs and organizations to Liberia?
Most NGO did not function because they had to leave, either going back to the countries where they were from.
And they were ordered back by their own countries.
Yeah, they had to go back. The Peace Corps that they had to come back home. They other international organizations that were there, they had to call for the people, and that impacted us.
The cost of goods?
Yeah, the shipment of rice, because we have to import rice. The ships could not come in, and so rice, when they finally came on the market, it was so expensive that the government had to intervene again, that the price of rice could not go above.
So they had to put cost controls on it.
Yes, they had to put that on it. And
did fuel get difficult to find as well?
Fuel, yes.
Medications,
times,
fuel.
yeah. You have none. even though you had them selling it in little bottles and thing on the sidewalks. But yeah, they came back, and then schools were closed, and churches were for a couple weeks
shut down.
month,
Same
yeah,
here
shut
for
down.
months and months here.
Yeah,
There were
and
churches
then-
that were shut down here for over a year.
The Christians took to the airwave and spoke against it, and the government decided to open it again, and decided you could have distances in how you set up your chairs. So that was open again. The universities were closed down for a long time. Government offices, they had to bring in workers this week. This group works, and the next week they stay off, and the other week they come in.
Do you find things are recovering now? Is it closer back to normal?
Yeah, it's close. It's normal again. That
normal again.
lasted for the first year, but the second
We're not 100. We're still not 100% normal here, but we're much closer. I think we were slower in returning because people are just. I mean, it's just they're just scared. There's a fear, and I thought I have to say, as a pastor and a spiritual leader, God forbid that we ever get an Ebola here. If the panic that we had over a serious disease, over a serious virus, serious flu, I can't imagine if we got something like Liberia dealt with Ebola. I just want to say this: the Liberia people are a much tougher people than our people, and they're much more just able to withstand greater things. We almost collapsed as a nation over this, and God forbid we would get something that would kill in the 95% level. I can't imagine how people would treat each other. I mean, it's very, very thing. Well, I've gotten a privilege over the last few years, for a while now, to work with Dr. Hena. She's came back to the Kakata regions. We began to connect with her, and I just want to show. I showed. Let me back up one. I showed her first clinic in 2012, and as she was getting back 2011. Is 2011? You said this was.
No,
2012?
2012.
2012, she's doing her first clinic in Kakata. This is our first clinic in Kakata around 2011. We were doing a medical clinic, and people heard we were coming up in Wela, which is also in Margaby County, a little farther in than where she's at, about 30 kilometers or so, I guess. Was that what is Wela about?
It's about
30 kilometers. Back in the day, it was a very bad road, so could take an hour to get there, an hour and a half. Now you can get there in 15, 20 minutes. They have nicer roads now. And back in the day when we got to know Dr. Hena, we began to coordinate and working more and more with her. And you can see a great picture here. There's 3 pictures here. One is myself in that fabulous No Greater Love hat from my mentor's ministry, Fred Bishops. And I've got my African shirt on. Actually, that's my African shirt. That's from Dr. Okimi Omana. It was a gift of mine from South Africa from the World Cup. That's a World Cup soccer shirt from South Africa. And with Dr. Jeff Parks and Dr. Sherry Parks, they're both with us on our team there. Dr. Hena, they're in Kakata outside the Esso station where we would always stop in those days. So getting a chance to greet her and meet her. This was very early in us getting to know Dr. Hena, and it was just amazing what God did. You can also see some pictures here of our team. Now, our team right now, the upper level, the upper pictures are specifically at the Waterfield clinic, the primary healthcare clinic, your facility. So it's not any longer just a drawing. It's an incredible facility. Elizabeth Parks up there on the right, one of our PAs that travels with us, also in the middle, and also Dr. Jeff Parks, who's the medical director for the Hands Hope Foundation. We're all there in country doing clinic with you. Our experience of doing clinic with you, as we've worked together with you over the last several years, how is the impact of teams coming in, whether it's from Texas or whether it's a team like ours coming in from Illinois? What is the impact on those teams? Do they make your work better, or we make your work more miserable? We come in and wear you out, or what?
No, I think it has been really a blessing for us because our local staff do learn a lot from that experience.
So the nurse that's working with Elizabeth, she'll get a chance to exchange ideas. They'll get a chance to learn from each other.
She's a PA.
She's a PA.
Yeah.
And with Elizabeth being a PA, they can actually work together.
They work together very well.
And for Elizabeth, too, she's going to be asked to identify things that she may not see here as much. Mm-hmm. So having her experience there will help as well. But then Elizabeth may have better knowledge on certain treatments that are available. And then together, it really lifts the healthcare totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Parks has been working with you for a long time.
Yeah, so it's not a curse.
No, it's a good thing. Well,
It's
we come in with large. You see, let me show you a picture, guys. I'll show you a picture here real quick. I'll come back to one. That's a picture of our team from 2019 coming in, and we have pretty good sized teams that come in with us, and Pro Health International will come in and do work, and man, we'll do as many cases as we can. We'll do clinic, eye cases, medical cases. We do them at her clinic. We do clinical at her clinic. We work down at a facility we built in Waiela, a surgical center as well. And just working together, we're able to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patients, all of which Dr. Hena has been gracious enough to help us kind of pre-qualify and select and do the proper triage. Back in the day, let me go back to the picture. Before Dr. Hena, let me show you this is before Dr. Hena. We just had people flog us. After Dr. Hena, we got very organized, and I'll give you an example. This picture in the bottom left is Dr. Kimi Amana with his queue for the eye clinic. Everything's organized now. Now, because of Dr. Hena and her incredible team, they do such a good job getting good, difficult cases. You see the lower right, you see Dr. Amana passed out. That's Dr. Amana because Dr. Hena has so many people ready to go for surgery that she takes every bit of from him and then he just passes out. You like that, Doctor? That's the value of having you there. You know how to put people, who needs to be there, who needs to be treated now. You get that priority right. So your whole life seems about prioritization. You decided we're going to work with the women and children. Then you kind of take a look at who needs to be put in the queue next. Is that a constant decision of yours of figuring how to take scarce resources and deal?
We worked on it during the whole year because we not only work with your team, we also have to work in the villages.
Yeah.
And so we constantly have to think about resources, how we're going to put the resources together for what village, how we're going to organize what's going to be when we get to the villages. Mm-hmm. So it has helped me in the bigger picture of things.
Yeah, that's great.
When the people come in.
Well, when we go there, let me just I'll show a couple more other pictures just real quick. Here's a picture of Dr. Hena. A few years ago, she gave us an incredible Pavla hut, right? We have that hanging up here in the walls of Community Faith Church near our Hands of Hope offices here. We've got another one from a previous year in the far, I'll show you one in a minute. But that's our team there working below. Dr. Mana's below there, Dr. Parks, and Dr. Hena there on site running the clinic. She has a backpack on because her clinic is on the move. She's got all these people queued up, and she's always in the move, ready to run it. And she runs a tight ship, I'm just telling you. We've got this lovely picture here. This is the most recent trip, and we took your beautiful gift that you gave to us, and that lower left is hanging on the wall here. We have it with the full team, and we just memorialize our trips to you.
Yeah, that's a typical village. That's how you find the people in the villages.
That's how it is. That is, and guys, people, that's how it is. I mean, you'll see people walking down the street carrying their stuff.
With those things on their head.
And the thing is, they're not just walking a few feet. They've walked from the village someplace else a while with it, And I love the clinic sign below, Waterfield Primary Healthcare Clinic. Tell us about your clinic a little bit. Tell us a little bit about, what got you there. What are your primary goals and what you're seeing, what you're doing today?
Well, we started off from the first picture that you saw, the first clinic. We had nothing.
I'm going to bring that back up for everybody to see. There you go. We started here.
Yeah, but we desired to have something different so that we could have more services to the people. Mm-hmm. And then we went through the plans and got others involved in it and started raising funds for that. And God was gracious to us. He provided the funds, and we were able to construct that.
Amazing.
And we constructed it during Ebola.
I know.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Ebola, we did not stop our work. We brought buckets where workers could wash their hands and told them how to take care of themselves, and never stopped a day.
Wow.
We continue to work.
One of the things that's amazing, did your people stay pretty well during Ebola?
Yes, they did. And so we did not lost any at our clinic. We did not lost any that were associated with our work.
I want to say the same thing with us, Hands of Hope Foundation. We were working with her through that. I was in the country when we were doing the outreach. Ebola hit, what was it, 14 or 15?
14.
14, okay. Mm-hmm. Ebola hit 14. It hit while we were doing our surgical outreach. Mm-hmm. I was in the country. We had been there we had a double team that had come. They'd been there 2 weeks. We had another team that came in for 2 weeks. It was the largest team we'd ever taken. And I had been there for over a month. I went in a week early. I'd been there for 2 weeks. I think I was approaching 5 weeks. And right toward the end of the trip, my second group is there. I had the New York group and some of our people. Then I had another group. Right toward the end of it, Ebola was in Guyana. We were hearing about it. And it began to be talked about while we were there. And we thought, well, it came across from Guinea. It was in Guinea. Yeah. It came across over into what is the school?
Lofa.
It came into Lofa. But where do we have up there? We got the medical school where the nurses go.
Phoebe.
It came to Phoebe. Mm-hmm. We knew it came across there. It came into the Methodist facility up there as well. We heard about that. And then I thought, man, we are on the road to Monrovia. Everything moves from Guinea to Monrovia. That is the trade corridor there. And we were finishing up our clinic, and we were taking the team to go out, and I was supposed to fly out with the team. And we just heard that Ebola had come on a motorcycle and a taxi, and a motorcycle had come into Monrovia. Somebody had come that had been found with it and was being brought in there. They because people ride on the back of a motorcycle, they ride in the taxi, they ride in the bus. And let me tell you, they cram in those buses. You can put more people in those buses. You can imagine taxi cabs in there. People get on the motorbike and then they ride for hours on bad roads. And everybody's sweating hot because it's hot and dry and hot and wet. So an Ebola transfers through sweat or through perspiration. And you just cannot get in a taxi or a bus or get on a motorbike and hold somebody for 5 hours and not transfer stuff. So you just know as that Ebola came up that road, many people would begin to be carriers of it, and it would begin to leave a footprint. We were leaving as the first one. I have a paper where it says Ebola's in Monrovia. I'm still in Monrovia, and I'm getting ready to leave. And I get a call from President Johnson Sirleaf office and said, could I come and meet with her? We were just finishing up our outreach, and I get a call to meet with the president along with our bishop of the Methodist Church then. And he says, Ma wants to see you. I thought, great. I remember calling home, Dr. Hena. I called home. Did I cry to you? Mm-hmm. I cried. A
little bit.
I cried out of sadness. It's not that I didn't want to meet the beautiful president. I've been wanting to meet her for years. I was exhausted for 5 weeks of outreach. I've been away from my family for 5 weeks, and she wanted to meet with me on on Tuesday, 3 days later, meaning I had to cancel my airline ticket and go meet with the president. Because when the president calls you and I just become a paramount chief, I thought, you got to go, And so I called and said, I can't go. I want to go home. I want to get on the plane. I'm tired of this place. Ebola's here, And then my spiritual mentor, Fred Bishop, called me. We talked. And he says, you can't miss this opportunity. You got to stay. I said, okay, I'll stay. So I stayed and met with her. It was one of the highlights of my life. And all she asked me is, how can Hands of Hope help the people of Liberia through what we're fixing to face? And it was in that meeting where we pledged to send as much medical resources as we could. And we sent, over the next year, 5 containers, plus a 6th one in the previous year. We sent 6 containers of medical supply and food and emergency provisions. And we never closed our clinic. We never closed our facility. Not one of our Hope Scholars, not one of our students, not one of our nurses, not one of our people. We had 300 students under our scholarship program at that time. Not one person died or got Ebola and got sick.
Well, we had a very close call on our way from that same trip you're talking about.
Yeah.
And on the way, we met a group of people there. It was just chaos because we slowed down, and there was a sick patient that was there. And so we always do, we just went, picked her up and put her in our car and took her to C.H. Rennie Hospital. Wow. And then when we got there, we heard the news about Ebola, how the nurses had already contracted the disease, and they were.
And C.H. Rennie lost many people.
Yeah,
they lost many people. Yeah.
And so it was just like, Lord.
The Lord had his hand on you. The Lord had his hand on us. And I'm not forsaking the others, but I want to thank God for watching over your team, us, doing good work. And that was a devastating disease. So just hear this. Number one is God watches over his. And if you have to go through it, God can be with you through it. And it's just amazing to see what it did. Dr. Hena, just help us understand a little bit. When teams come in, when they what kind of expertise, what kind of medical people, if people are looking to do short-term missionary work, long-term missionary work, what are the kind of medical people that would be helpful coming to Healthy Women, Healthy Liberia? They say, I would like to come and give 3 months. I've retired. I'd like to practice. What are some things that you see that would be very helpful?
Well, we see the urgent need for surgeons.
Surgeons, big time.
And then the second thing for OBGYN, because that's the area now, since the mothers of the country are the 13, 14, 15 years old girls. Yeah. And so we needing that. And that's why in 2020, we went ahead and designed the structure, the physical structure.
To do a surgical center.
To do the surgical center and the maternity department.
How far along are you in that process of looking at that?
We designed it, got the estimates and everything, and God has just blessed us, and so we now have the full amount that
Praise
we need.
God.
And we're going to start the construction in February.
Praise God. Well, see, that's why Hands Hope's not been back yet. We're waiting to come and be a part of that surgical facility. It's been a dream of yours and ours that we could do more and more. Let me say this to you. If you're out there and you're a surgeon, you're a retired surgeon, and your skill set's still good, you're good to go. The need for hernia, just basic hernias, is beyond what you can imagine. Hydrocele, beyond what you can imagine. OBGYN, we took an OBGYN on a couple trips with us, and they came and got him from the clinic, took him to the hospital, and we never saw him again. We basically picked him up on the way to, we dropped him off for the moment they heard OBGYN was in the country, they took him to Rainey for an emergency. I think we got him before we got on the plane to leave. He stayed there nonstop. He did cases, he did hysterectomies I saw pictures of endometriosis where what was removed from the uterus, the balls, the sacs were the size of softballs. And there would be like a bag of softballs. The women, the fibers would look like the women were pregnant 8 months with those. And so that surgeon did emergency deliveries. He did cases. He did amazing things. So if you're OBGYN, if you are a surgeon, let me say this on behalf of that. If you are a pediatric surgeon, one of the biggest problems there is we take a lot of surgeons, but our American surgeons are often very uncomfortable working on smaller children. And so we really have to kind of work hard to get our surgeons to kind of go down and do some 10, 11, even 10, 11-year-olds they don't want to do because we're very segregated here. You know what I mean? You know, they don't do pediatrics. If you're a pediatric surgeon, you are highly needed there. Now, in all cases, they have surgical theaters. They have a few surgical theaters that look more like ours here, but just go back to the 60s or 70s primarily with ketamine and real basic anesthesia. That's what we practice with mostly there. We do some full cases. You can arrange some of those. Are you hoping in your surgical center to be able to do a general case down the road?
Oh yes,
very much so.
Yeah, that's what it's
that's
for.
That's the real goal, right? Yeah. But right now, there's so much you can do. And then if you've got any kind of surgical skill, if you are a plastic surgeon, there are so many cases of burns and things that need to be worked on there that are tremendous. ENTs, an ENT would be tremendous. So if you have those skill sets, a dentist. We took dentist teams for Pro Health, and I mean they did we never saw them either. Just unbelievable. So if you've got dental skills, eye skill, ophthalmology skills, optometrist skills. You are needed. Reach out to Hands of Hope Foundation, hohfoundation.org. Reach out to Healthy Women Liberia and let them talk to you about getting involved. If you want to reach out to us at onthedoc.org, hopefully we'll get a Hands of Hope Foundation trip going again in 2022. Hopefully, maybe. But we will have one soon in the future. And if not, we'll get you connected with Chris and figure out how to get you. It's easier right now to get an individual or a small group over there than it is to take a team of 30 to 60. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see some. I think what we're planning on this end, Chris, is probably bringing a team of 10 over for a first trip, and just begin to do some cases again, and then get ready for the next phase. Okay. So we really want people to look at that. If you've got those skill sets, if you're a nurse, you're a scrub nurse, if you're a PA, a nurse practitioner, you would be welcome to come, and we would be glad to work with you. Reach out to us. There's just so much need there. Chris, what would you say as we kind of take a look at this episode? Our goal in this episode is how you can partner with Hands of Hope to work with you. Anybody out there hearing this can get a hold of us through onthedoc.org or hohfoundation.org. And we're glad to show you videos, connect you with what's going on, help you get there. But Chris, what would be some of those top issues right now you see to help reform healthcare and to help take Liberian healthcare to that next level? What are your top issues?
Well, my number one is the training of health professionals. Training, I cannot overstate that.
That's basic training.
Yeah, basic training.
Is a surgeon or OB or a PA coming over? That can also be field training for people as well. So,
yes.
So when somebody comes over here that's highly trained, you're a highly trained, you were trained in Russia. We'll talk about that in the next episode. So you're a trained medical physician. Anytime you can get a trained medical physician that's come from a modern country that has new technique, that can always enhance that medical. And don't get me wrong, we learn from the medical people there on how to work with very little, and also sometimes how to treat things that we would never see anymore. My dad always explains to me, he says, sounds like what you work with is what we saw in the 50s, 60s, more ringworm and things that kids get on the farm.
Scabies.
Yeah, scabies. Yeah, right, there you go. Yeah. You see things like that my dad saw when he started medical school and he was out in the rural areas. He said, you see that in Liberia because that's where Liberia is. It feels more rural. And we've got rid of a lot of that stuff through the school nurses and community healthcare. You're reestablishing that to begin to get rid of that. I think you're going to see some victory on that. So training, healthcare, that would be one of your top issues. What would be your next couple?
So the next will be, again, more training.
More training.
Because you have the community health workers. We want to expand that program. And right now we talk about having 72 communities and villages that we work with. We have only 10 community health workers.
Oh, my.
That's really, really, really
very thin. Very, very thin.
And so that's our focus in the coming year, to bring on at least another dozen. So if they'll be able to go out.
They get to know one or two very well, or two or three, and they get to be very strong there.
To be local and to live
there.
To live there.
Yeah, people that would bring in from.
And they begin to rely on
villages,
them.
Yes.
So you're really talking about frontline healthcare workers then.
Yes.
And that would do a lot to relieve. Because when we first started going to Liberia, it was like, people thought to get healthcare, they needed to go wherever they're in the country, they had to get to Monrovia. Mm-hmm. It's like everybody would go and wait at JFK for days to see what might be really, to be honest with you, a doctor that's untrained or out of their field, or maybe never even see a doctor. They would wait spend all that energy and might die waiting to just see the doctor. And what you're suggesting is it's all backwards. All that to try to get everybody to come here. What you're wanting to do is put the right kind of people there.
Right.
And that would restore so much hope and order to communities.
Yeah, because, for example, the eye department we have, since Kakata is centrally located, you have people coming all the way from Banga, from Nima, going to Monrovia.
Hundreds, long distance folks.
Instead, they will just make that stop in Kakata now.
But what you're talking about really turns the system there upside down. But it also seems so achievable. But you just need people and training. How do you get the community healthcare workers supported so they can make a living doing this?
Yeah, that's where we have been able, for the last year, we generate income from the clinic that we're able to reach out to the community health workers.
You've had the incredible ability to begin to build a sustainable model, almost unheard of in Liberia currently, because everything's kind of been, people, it was supposed to be free healthcare, but it wasn't free, or people would give a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You've really created a model that figures out how to help people. How do you go from just because when Liberia came out of the Civil War, you basically had NGOs, different groups giving free care, help care, whatever. So how did you retrain people into investing in their own healthcare and help them see value? And it may be a small amount, but the small amount, when you put it together, begins to form a net.
Yeah, that was the challenge, because when we first came, because the country was so devastated, we gave everything free.
Right.
And so that mindset had to be changed to not everything free, but
I saw that.
paying something.
I watched you
for
do that.
Your services that we provide. And it took a while to get them in there, but now we don't even have to talk about it and know that when they come to the clinic,
It's going to be reasonable, but it's going to be something.
Reasonable. Yeah, 0 to 5 years old.
Because
it's
the other wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
Because what saw happen there when I came in 8, 9, and 10, you saw lots of NGOs there. We were all doing work. I was one of the early NGOs. And then you saw by 2015 when the hurricanes hit here and Rita and Katrina, big hurricane, then you had another disaster somewhere else. You began to see what I called NGO fatigue, donor fatigue. And many of the NGOs just began to say, well, we're leaving Liberia. You know, Ebola brought a few of them back, but as soon as Ebola was over again, many departed because people would say, we've been helping and helping and helping and helping, free. When will the Liberians begin to fish for themselves? You came back from Russia with a degree and a medical career, being from that region, and you walk in and say, we need to pay something for our healthcare. You were like, you threw cold water on everybody. Everybody was like, free. And then you're a Liberian going, no. We need to do something for ourselves.
Something for ourselves.
And something that can outlast these people, because the people were starting to thin out. So you are almost a prophet. I mean, prophets are never welcome initially, but now you've got this shining city on a hill. Dental, eyeglasses. You got people cooking food. You've got community healthcare workers. You've showed that the Liberian people can help themselves.
Yeah.
Right, by building your own community.
Building your own community.
And having pride in it.
And they have pride, great pride.
And I would say that's what you have been the best at, is giving people pride for what they have and their dignity. Whether it was that first clinic you had or whether it's a clinic you have today, I don't find, if you go back and look, I'm just going to give you an example of this, okay? It won't be the best. I could do better. But if I take Dr. Hena's picture here, this is her first clinic. You don't see trash on the ground. That was a little clinic. It's clean. If you go to her place today, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll just show you the corridors. It's clean. It's spotless. Now, if you leave the walls of her compound and move down into the city, it's not as, I know they've done a lot of work on sanitation, but it's not near as clean.
No, it's dirty now.
It's dirty. And you have set such an example to show respect for yourselves and the property. It's that community mindset you've changed.
And we saw that happen in Honduras too.
We did too.
Same thing when we first started going there. It was so dirty and trashy. And then over the years, it just people started taking pride in their country.
That's the challenges. You have to keep reminding them that we have to do it ourselves.
Right.
You can't wait for Hints of Hope to come and do it
every time. That's right. And while we want to come, I do think
do some things. Yes,
I think the greatest thing we do when we come is work alongside of you guys and give you an opportunity for let us help you do cases that may be difficult, harder cases, training, working alongside your workers, and just having the time to say, hey, let us carry the water with you for a season, and let us show you technique. Let us learn technique from you, and let us leave as much resources as we can with you. I think the key is the comradeship that we build when we work together. And I think it's great that we can see 1,000 patients. I think that to God be glorified. But I think the best thing is we get to work with you while we see 1,000 patients. Yeah. And I think we are stronger that way. So I look forward to getting back there because, number one, I know your system's even better. I also know we'll be able to be more efficient because your ability to put the right people that we can treat will be even better. So I know it's going to be better. So if you're out there, please pay attention to Hands Up Foundation. Go subscribe to Hands Up Foundation's Facebook site. Watch for when we get ready to set up the next trip. Same thing with Healthy Women, Healthy Liberia. Find out how you can help them. It's just amazing.
Or like you said, you can also arrange for people to go down.
Yeah,
individually.
Yeah, we're glad to help you. We will help you. Go to info@onthedoc.org. We'll help you. If you're a doctor, surgeon, OBGYN, you're retired, you're still practicing, you want to just go and serve a couple weeks, get a hold of us and we'll get you in contact with Dr. Hena and we'll work through the process.
When they come, they will have a place to stay.
Excellent. Are you working on it? I love that. Have you worked on your guest house? Is it?
It's completed.
It is completed. When I saw your guest house, it was just in the beginning phases.
It's completed.
I cannot wait to come. I'm looking for Dr. Hena. We're going to come back and see you real soon. Hey, we're going to wrap up this episode. I'm going to get Dr. Hena back in the studio for what I think is going to be maybe one of the most incredible things. But let me say Healthy Women, Healthy Liberia, Dr. Chris Hena, Medical Director, Post Office Box 816, Waxahachie, right? Waxahachie. This is a better than I do. Texas 75168. You can get information from them. Send them a check, whatever. But go to Facebook. Check out their Healthy Women Liberia site. Go to the website healthywomenliberia.org. Find out how you can be a part. How you can see more about this vision. And you can always email them for questions. And we would love to hear back from you. And when we get into part 3 of this, we're going to bring her back in. And let me tell you what we're going to do here. Let me get the right part 3 screen up. Part 3. We're going to look at Dr. Chris Hena's story. And it is honestly, she got inspired to be a doctor by a childhood friend who did she die from the malaria?
She died.
Yes.
She died, and that sends her on a journey. And you will not believe how and who educates her to be who she is, and
incredible.
And how the Christian community came in and out. It's something. Your story is something out of the Book of Acts. So you are in my book. I don't know if you've ever read, anybody out there ever read one of my favorite books. If you want to find the name of the book, you can go to communityfaithchurch.org. That's my website, cofchurch.org. Or you might can find it on the doc, but you can find my bio. One of my 3 favorite books is Father Arseny, priest, prisoner. And Father Arseny was a Russian Orthodox priest. And it tells the story of Father Arseny. And it's his personal memoirs. And it's incredible thing. And he was just somebody that God just touched and had a hand on in his work. You are somebody like that God's had his hand on. And when I hear your life story, I think of Father Arseny. And it behind the Iron Curtain. I think of my father in the Lord, Reverend Fred Bishop, who spent a lot of time behind the Iron Curtain. So we look forward to getting you back for episode number 3, Healthy Women, Healthy Liberia. Dr. Chris Hena's story. We're going to get you back in the studio for that, and we're looking forward to that. So others will join us. We just want to remind you, by the way, you can find On the Doc at onthedoc.org. You can find us at all our platforms at YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify, also Google Play, Facebook, Roku, Rumble, and SermonNet. And check us out on all of our social media partners. We'd love to hear from you at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, and Getter nowadays. And hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the notify. We'd love to hear from you that way. And we would always love to have you as a partner or subscriber, or partner or sponsor on our Patreon site. Check out our various tiers of support there. We'd love to have you. You can either be a sponsor to the program or you can become a partner. And you can find out all this information. If you've heard something today you want more information, you can email us at info@onthedoc.org. And you can always find all of our platforms, all of our links at onthedoc.org. Mother Beth, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Yeah, you did better. You did better in this episode. And Dr. Hena, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to let her get some rest, and then we're going to get her back in here, and we're going to hear this incredible story of her life. And we'll be back in the next part of Healthy Women, Healthy Liberia, part 3. So thank you for joining us here on the Doc. Look forward to seeing you soon. Check out our other episodes. You can go back, find those at onthedoc.org. Go back and check out our other episodes in our various series, and we look forward to bringing you more in the future. Thanks for joining us. I'm Pastor Troy on the Doc.